Hey everybody, it's Marc Ebinger. I'm one of the hosts of Essential Oil Talk Radio, and I'm here with Nikki, Holland.
Hey, good morning, and welcome to the show. I'm so excited.
So am I.
We have a lot of stuff coming at you guys this morning.
Yes, we do.
First thing, I have a little reminder. If you're watching us on YouTube, I want you to be sure to click that notification, that little bell, so you don't miss anything, and be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely, because a lot of people are going to catch us on the replay. But for those of you who are up early in the morning on Sundays, welcome. We're excited to have you guys here. So this is our first broadcast on Essential Oil Talk Radio, and we just felt like this was something that we needed to do. Essential oils are so important, and yet there's a bit of a learning curve on them, and there needs to be more talk about it. So that was part of the inspiration for us to get a show like this going.
Yep.
So
and they're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. What we're going to talk about today, Mark, that I wanted to make sure that everybody understands, we are going to do a little bit of education, a little bit of learning, but a little bit of fun. I want to talk a little bit about lemon essential oil and how you can actually use that to remove this sticky residue from just about any surface in your home, right?
that'll be fun, yeah.
Peppermint essential oil. I love it. I use it all the time. It can really enhance your breathing experience. In the kitchen, I like to cook. I like to eat. I like to cook. I like to eat more than I cook, just saying. I'm going to give a little recipe, something that my kids love, and I'm going to give some tips on how to get your kids to eat vegetables just by using some type of essential oil. And then we're going to go to the bedroom, not really, but we're going to talk about a DIY recipe, lavender linen spray that can just really send you to La La Land really quickly.
Yeah, and we have a special guest in the room as well, Elizabeth Rose. She's got a lot of experience, a hands-on experience, dealing with the process of essential oils. We thought that'd be great for our listeners and our viewers to learn a little bit about that from somebody who's been there. I mean, how many people do you know that have been around frankincense, a real frankincense tree, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's very rare. So we'll get into that a little bit later.
We're also going to give away some prizes today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some pretty cool prizes. That
makes the show fun, I think.
Part. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So before we get too far into the show, Nikki, you were telling me earlier that your daughter had kind of this unique experience that she woke you up kind of early in the morning. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's like 3 a.m., the ghostly hour. She comes into the room, she taps on my shoulder, and she's like, "Mommy, my leg hurts." Oh, my baby. I don't know if you get that feeling. I get that feeling as a mom. Like when your kid's hurting, you want to help them as soon as possible.
Yeah, and that'll wake you straight up out of any kind of deep sleep, too.
Absolutely, yeah. Scared me to death, actually. I almost punched her right in the face. No, I didn't. So I'm like, "What's wrong, sweetie?" And she's like, my leg hurts. So I get her up in bed with me, and it's natural to me to reach over and grab some lavender oil, rubbed it right on top of her leg, her little shin bone there. She'd been jumping on the trampoline, so I kind of associated that with just a little too much exercise.
Sure, a little discomfort there.
Exactly. And then within 5 minutes, she's like, "My leg doesn't hurt anymore." I'm like, "Good, go back to your room." Bye.
Trying to sleep here.
So it feels so good to be able to do that. You know, I didn't have to wake up the hubs to say, "Hey, can you go get the pain reliever? Find me something." You know, it's very empowering as a mom to be able to help your kids like that.
Absolutely. And as a parent, I have an 11-year-old daughter. She just turned 12 yesterday, actually. That was pretty cool. So this is kind of her birthday present, me going on the radio for the first time. But no, I'm just teasing.
Oh, we should sing to her.
I should, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
So anyway, I forgot what I was going to say now. But no, it's empowering as a parent to be able to have something that can help them right at your fingertips. You know what I mean? That doesn't have some of the nastier side effects or the nastier things that, that come along with some of the other things that we find out there on the market today. So yeah, very empowering, very endearing. That was a really good story. So we, something cool. So I went out to the backyard the other day, and I'm dealing with my rosemary bush, right? And I didn't really know this, but rosemary bushes, they have this sticky substance on them as well. So I'm pulling it out because you got to trim it because it grows like crazy. The rosemary does, right? I mean, you got to trim that bad boy back. So I went in there and I was doing some work with it, and I got this, well, I just call it pitch. I mean, I don't know what else to call it, but I know pitch generally from trees, but this sticky stuff was just all over my hands. And so I go back in the house, and of course, the first thing I do is I wash with water, and I'm like, well, that's not working. That was just kind of the, the test to make sure that,
this is really sticky.
It is really sticky. So anyway, but I remembered that, hey, lemon oil is really good for sticky stuff like stickers and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And we use, generally speaking, my wife, Jennifer, she uses lemon essential oil in her water. It's just her big thing, right? She puts it in all the time, gives it a little bit of flavor, and it helps her body. So, but I know it does well with sticky stuff. So I put a couple drops in my hand, like 2 drops, and I just wipe my hands together, and boom, it was gone. It just, I mean, you know things about essential oils and what they can do, but when it's like you experience it and then you forget about it and you experience it again. It's like, that is amazing. That's just one of the things that lemon essential oil does. So anyway, super cool deal.
That is cool. And I always get this little like, oh, it still works. It still works. It's keep on working.
Yeah. And another cool thing is they don't expire.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, some do, some don't.
Well, which ones expire?
Not mine.
Not yours. So high quality essential oils don't expire.
There you go. So high quality is important to me. Peppermint essential oil. You love this stuff, right?
Oh yes, one of my favorites.
So I'm not the best morning person. I'm really not. You can ask 110,000 people. They'll tell you, yeah, Nikki's not the morning person.
Yeah,
He's real happy in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Peppermint essential oil. It's my favorite in the aspect of waking me up and just getting my day started. So I'll put 1 drop of peppermint oil in my hands, rub it together. I cup it over my face, right? I don't touch my face, but I cup it over and I just breathe in, right? And it's like, good morning, sunshine.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, it just really makes me feel good. And that's how I wake up every single morning. Like, that's it. That's
Do you ever
cool
say,
tip.
do you ever do that, right? You're just all intense on it and then you're like, good morning, Vietnam. I mean, do you ever, because I don't know, Robin Williams comes to mind.
No, that's just you.
Oh, it's just me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know.
Sorry.
Chris, our sound guy's laughing over there. So
He's like, okay, yeah. So tips, right? We just gave a lemon tip. We just gave some peppermint, some tips on peppermints.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually going to put that on our
website, eotalkradio.com, absolutely. And this is really just, it's bigger than what Marc and Nikki are bringing, or even Elizabeth today is bringing to the show. We want you guys to give us your tips. Give us some insight, give us some DIY stuff, because there is some really cool stuff out there that people want to see. We do a lot of events here in San Antonio, and they're big events, right? We're not talking small events. We're talking hundreds of people. And we come together as this essential oil community, and we start sharing. That is one of the biggest benefits of coming to some of these events. So, yeah, I know you've got a really cool one that you like to use with lavender. So give us the story on that.
My lavender linen spray.
Wait, lavender and lemon?
Linen.
Oh, like bedding.
Like sheets.
Gotcha.
But just so you know, it's better to label it lavender linen spray because sheet spray will end up in the bathroom. Like it always ends up in there.
Probably
just
does.
So this is really, really simple. It's inexpensive and it really works. So you're going to take a little 4-ounce spray bottle, put 6 drops of lavender oil in there, a little bit of filtered water, and maybe a teaspoon of sea salt. Mix it up. Spray it around, right? Spray it on the sheet, spray it on the pillow, and it just really creates this real relaxing atmosphere. I use it all the time, but not just for me. I use it for my kids, and it really helps my kids just drift off to La La Land.
So break it down for me a little bit. So how much of what are you using?
4 ounces.
4 ounces of
filtered water.
Okay, and then how many drops again? I'm sorry.
Apparently you weren't listening. It was 6
I was
drops.
checking my notes. Hey, it's a self-defense mechanism for guys. Sometimes we do. Not. Sorry, that's probably, I'm going to get hurt in here.
So if you hear a loud crash, that would be Marc falling.
That would be me.
So yeah, it's 4 ounces of water, 6 drops of lavender.
Okay, and that's it?
A little bit of sea salt.
No lemon? Sorry. No, you don't.
For you, yes. Yeah. And then spray it in your eyes. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, lemon's really good for the eyeballs. Helps with my vision. So, yeah.
So I talked about cooking in the kitchen, right? Because I enjoy it. I really do. And sometimes, hey, I've been a mom for over 20 years. I get tired of cooking the same
You're
thing.
A fantastic mom, by the way.
Aw, thank you.
I mean, seriously, I've seen.
Said no kid ever to me.
I have seen Nikki do her mom job, if you will, and she's phenomenal at it. I mean, she's just very, very caring, very giving. And so when you told the story about, Michaela coming and waking you up at night, it just, I mean, I could almost feel.
Please don't say you can picture me. That's scary.
I didn't say that. But I can, that connection, that parenthood, that mama bear.
If I want to shine, I'm with my kids. That's when I'm shining brightest. Oh man, I love it.
That's one of the things I love about seeing with you. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. So recipe today: ginger, lime, honey, chicken. Okay, it sounds fabulous, right?
Ginger, lime, honey, and chicken.
And then I'm going to kick in some broccoli because, I'm a mom and I want my kids to eat the good stuff.
How many drops of chicken do you put in there?
Just, it depends on how much I get in the blender and if the cheesecloth is really, really,
All right, we're going to confuse our folks here. That was a poor attempt at humor. I'm sorry.
That was terrible.
All right,
absolutely
so terrible. Go ahead.
So simple. Get your skillet, a little bit of olive oil. You're going to cut up 2 chicken breasts, throw them in there, cook them up, a little salt and pepper.
Okay.
Drain that. Now in a little cup, you're going to have 1/3 of a cup of honey. I use local honey because I love to shop at the farmers markets. I love that.
Me too.
I drop in 2 drops of essential oil, ginger, 2 drops of essential oil, lime.
Okay.
Mix it up, throw it on the chicken, toss some broccoli in there, mix it all up, put the lid on, and let it sit for 10 minutes. And I serve that over rice. My kids are asking for seconds. They love it. And I feel like, hey, you know what? It's loaded in flavor, and I'm doing a good thing for my kids. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I'm very particular what I put in my kids' bodies, like cheeseburgers and stuff all the time. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely.
That's who I am. No, typical American diet sometimes.
We're not. This is a judgment-free zone here.
That's right, judgment-free. So just keep in mind when you're putting oils inside your body, internally, you need to make sure they're quality, because some bottles that you find in the stores will say not for ingestion. Warning, if you drink this, called
Poison control or something. Yeah.
So just be careful. I just don't want to, let everybody know you can't just be putting anything in your food.
Yeah, when you're going through the story, that's one of the things that popped into my mind was, hey, so people, and I've heard this from folks, they'll say, well, you don't take essential oils internally, right? But I mean, if you're using them in water, you're using them with cooking, it's like, well, wait a second, they're internal. And then I was thinking too, so if you take like chlorine, right? If you're going to breathe it, you breathe in chlorine's really, really bad, right? So wait a minute, can I drink chlorine? Is it worse to drink it or is it worse to breathe it in, right? So we don't really think about that when we talk about, people diffusing essential oils. They don't give it much of thought, or the plug-ins, right, that come in the walls. We don't think about what's in that, right? But we're breathing that in, and it's just as bad for you, if not worse, right? Because it's getting into the lungs and so forth. So when people raise that objection, I'm like, well, let's walk through that a little bit and think about it. But anyway, sorry.
That's all right. So we're talking about quality, and that leads us over to our special guest today.
Yes, absolutely. So quality is super important when it comes to something that you're putting on your body topically, right, that can be absorbed into your skin. Is something we don't think about too much in society. And then, of course, breathing the oils in or putting them in your food and drinks and so forth. And Elizabeth Rose, she has been using essential oils since she was a little girl. She's been over 20 years, I think like 24 years, if I'm not mistaken. And she has a lot of experience, right, because her family's seriously involved with essential oils. And so they took her on some trips and stuff like that. And she got firsthand exposure. So I thought that'd be a really cool first guest is to come on, bring Elizabeth Rose on. So Elizabeth, if you just give us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your history with, getting introduced and using essential oils since you're a little kid. And I got some questions for you, and we'll kind of go through it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marc and Nikki. It's a pleasure to be on with you guys today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Goodness gracious. My journey with essential oils actually started when I was about 6 years old. And it was because my mother just started using lavender with our family.
That's
I have
awesome.
2 younger brothers.
That's awesome. My daughter's going to have the story that you're telling.
Yes.
Well, not the same, but she was like 4
That's
when
an
we started.
endearing thing to think about.
Oh, I just got chills.
Yes.
How old is your daughter, Nikki?
She's 7.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. It has become my legacy. Honestly, I'm 29 years old now. And so having started when I was 6, it was something where my mother literally used a whole array. I mean, probably 100 different essential oils with us by the time
wow.
I even graduated high school. So it became something that was so ingrained in our everyday lifestyle that I didn't even have to, wonder what to use if I was feeling a little bit down or I got a cut or something like that, or I just needed that, like you're talking about peppermint, that uplifting feeling. I wish so many more children today had access to essential oils.
Well, that's part of what this show is about, is getting that out into there. So one thing I forgot, because this is our first show, I forgot to kind of mention our sponsor. So this show is sponsored by the San Antonio Empowerment Council, which is a local group here in San Antonio that really wants to get the word out about essential oils and doing lots of events and so forth. They got a couple of upcoming events. So if you've got a pen and pencil, or pen or pencil and some paper, write this down. If not, you can go to our website. You'll be able to find out more about that as well, and I'll give you another web address. But so on March 2nd, there's Dr. Amen. Yeah, just like it sounds, Dr. Amen.
Amen, brother.
He's going to be
Hallelujah.
doing a class. It's about a 2-hour class on essential oils and the immune system. It's going to be here in San Antonio. And the tickets, they're $15 on Eventbrite. So that's a really inexpensive class that you guys are going to get a lot of education. And then on April 6th, we're going to be having a huge essential oil expo and rally here in San Antonio with Stevie Baggs Jr. is going to be here. He's like a really good motivational speaker. But we're going to have lots of education and stuff with essential oils. And you're going to be surrounded by about 350 other people.
Yeah, it's amazing. If you haven't experienced a rally before, it's fun.
So you can find all of that at saecevents.com. That's saecevents.com or at eotalkradio.com.
Can I just mention something about that? Is at our last rally in January, there were several families that brought their younger children. And with that, I would say if your children are well behaved and you watch them, it could be a beneficial thing for them to come and be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good point. Good. And, you know, the younger we start these kiddos out with knowing about what essential oils are and how powerful they are to help them throughout their life.
You know what? I have 2 cousins in Oklahoma, Randa and Jordan. They just had babies, and they're using them on their infants. It's amazing.
Have you seen the
Absolutely
video
amazing.
on Facebook that's going around where it shows the baby? And I've seen a couple of these, so it's not just an isolated incident, but there's a couple of cases where the child is very fussy and crying, and they'll take a bottle. I think
It's peace and calming.
Peace and Calming. I've seen that one. There's another one too. It's Gentle something or
Gentle
other.
baby. Ooh, so good.
Right.
Yeah.
So they just bring the bottle up. They're not putting anything on the child, but they just bring the bottle up, and the child smells that aroma and calms down. It is like weird to see, but it's super cool as well. So, anyway, Elizabeth, you're at a couple of the farms. So there was one I know you've been to a couple here in the United States.
Yes.
There was
Yes.
one in Utah. So can you tell us real quick a little bit about the Utah farm that you went to and what that was like?
Absolutely. And so in Utah, in Mona, Utah, there is a wonderful farm. And can I mention the company
Sure.
that actually owns that farm? The name of the company is Young Living Essential Oils.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's been a blessing over the years of using essential oils with my family is we have learned about the quality and how you really want to know your source. You know, you want to know where the plant material is grown. Is it grown on soil that hasn't had pesticides and herbicides used on it? Is it grown with good water, clean air, things like that? And so thankfully, getting to visit these farms, that's what I got to experience, was that the farm in Mona, Utah, it's called our Lavender Farm, and they have a distillery there as well. I was actually, I believe it was 10 years old, was the first time that I got to visit that farm.
That's pretty cool.
Back then, there was nothing but the fields, the distillation house, and maybe 1 or 2 buildings.
Oh, did
Sure,
you see a lavender field?
Yes.
Is it beautiful?
Yes.
You know, you see pictures all over the place. Oh,
Yeah.
I just
I've been there too.
I
Just-
want to be there.
Yeah.
I'm going
I've seen
there.
that one.
They actually have the Lavender Days once a year where families from anywhere can just come and buy a ticket and participate in lavender harvest, do a run through the field. That's some kind of a cause.
Wait. I'm sorry to bother you or interrupt you. Anybody can just come to a Young Living farm?
Yes, absolutely.
they're
open to the
open.
public.
Wow. That's so
That
cool.
is the quality of this company, is they actually want people to get to understand this process of growing and distillation.
So let me ask a question about the. So I know that the farm is like a long way away from like major populated areas. I know that's a deal. But when it comes to the soil itself, right? Because you're going to have soil that's like, okay, I bought a farm and then I'm going to grow organic. Well, the problem is that the farmer that was there before has been spraying the fields and using all kind of crazy stuff on the soil, and that doesn't go away, right? I mean, it takes, I don't even know what that process is like, but so how do we know that Young Living's farm, tell me a little bit about their criteria and how they would deal with a situation like that.
Well, there's something called the seed to seal process, and you guys could actually look it up online to understand it in greater detail. But part of that qualification process for our farms is that the land has been kind of laid dormant for close to 50 years, and that there has never been any pesticides or herbicides or chemicals used on the land. As well as they're very careful about purchasing extra land around where we're going to plant fields so that no other farmers could actually plant there and be using pesticides that would end up in the water table and things like that.
Right, because you see that with the planes that come and they spray and so
Yes.
forth. How would you, that stuff gets on there or whatever, but that's cool.
50 years.
50
That's
years.
amazing.
That's a long
I
time.
mean, hey, I guess they care, huh?
They really do. They do.
All right, so I know another one of the farms you went to is up in Idaho. So what are they doing up in Idaho with what are they growing up there? Or?
Up in Idaho, actually, they grow lavender, melissa, and goldenrod.
Okay.
So both in our Utah farm and the Idaho farm, they grow the lavender as well as the melissa. And then up in Idaho, they have the goldenrod. And so what was fascinating actually about visiting Idaho, let me think here, that was in 2009, and I got to participate in harvesting the melissa. So I think, Mark, you've seen photos, and I'm actually up on the tractor with Gary Young. He brought me in there. He taught me how to drive this big old tractor, and I got to do several rows of melissa.
And,
that's
and
cool.
Gary Young, he's the founder of Young Living?
He is the founder of Young Living.
Yeah,
Yes.
you hear a lot about him. He's
Yes.
quite the pioneer, actually. I did a little research on him.
Ooh.
He's quite the story.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about pioneer. I mean, real pioneering going on, and which is why. So let's change gears to go to. You actually have been to the whole frankincense tree thing. Is just when I heard about Elizabeth going to the Oman and planting a frankincense tree for. I mean, who gets to do this? So I was like, I got to get her on a show. We need to talk to her about this. So tell me about this frankincense tree farm thing that happened over there. Tell me the story on that.
Well, first, I'd love to ask our listeners, have you guys heard about frankincense and myrrh? And did you know that they were given to Jesus 2,000 years ago? You can read the biblical historical account in the Bible about these wise men, these magi, giving Jesus, when he was a young boy, frankincense and myrrh, and they said gold. So this is not something that is a new discovery. This is actually something that's very ancient. And it's something that's been used over several thousands of years, written about in many historical documents.
That's exciting.
That's exciting. I mean, I always say, if it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me.
Well, I've heard
Amen.
the story. Of course, frankincense, but I never really thought about what is frankincense and myrrh, and what would that even mean, especially if you get into the value.
Well, and part of my
frankincense and myrrh.
question is, many pastors just mention it, but they don't understand why that was given to Jesus. It was given to him because it actually, in that time, the wealth of a king and a wise person or a rich family was actually determined by how much incense they had, which now we would know as essential oils, possibly resins, spices, and that is how their wealth was determined back
Wow,
then.
I had no clue.
So
That's
King
cool.
Solomon, we know about King Solomon, the Queen of Sheba. They had huge stockpiles of frankincense resin and myrrh and spikenard and hyssop and all those things. And so when I got to visit Oman, we took a trip for 7 days with about 35 leaders in the health industry. And during that time, we actually rented multiple SUVs and took out through the desert. Gary Young was our fearless leader.
No camels? You didn't go on camels this time?
Unfortunately, no. But the funny thing is there, let's see, in Oman, probably 15 to 20 years ago is when they built their first freeway. So these people are very open to tourism, and they're very kind to Americans, as of when I went in 2013. But you would see camels, a group of 10 camels, walking along the freeway as we're speeding 85 miles down the road.
Welcome to the
Oops,
21st
don't hit
century.
a camel. They have pumps. Do they
They
make
had
good speed
camel
bumps?
crossing signs. You guys, not people crossing, camel crossing
That's
signs.
too
So
funny.
tell me about the planting the tree. So you got to plant a frankincense tree. So we got about 2 minutes.
Okay. Planting frankincense. We got to plant 45 frankincense trees of the specific species Boswellia sacra. There's actually 17 different species of frankincense.
Wow.
Grown in Oman, Yemen, and Somalia. And so in Oman, we have our sacred frankincense, which is the Boswellia sacra species. Very, very expensive essential oil because of its high demand.
And then they distill them on site. Is that correct?
Yes. So we actually got to be part of a live distillation, and at the end of it, we got our own bottle of frankincense, Boswellia sacra oil, as well as a huge bag of resin, which I chew like chewing gum.
Why?
Okay, so I've heard this
Why?
before.
Sounds weird, right? But yes, it has a very kind of like a tree-like taste to it. But actually, people there, they don't have dentists and things like we do here in the United States, not as readily available. And so the frankincense resin is actually very helpful for the health of your teeth and your gums.
No clue.
And they just chew it, right?
Mhm.
Wow,
And they just
I'm
chew
learning
it
so much.
because it really doesn't dissolve. It's just like a gummy thing.
Yeah, resin gum. Awesome.
Mhm.
All right, cool. So as we wrap up with your portion here, is there anything else? What's your big takeaway from actually going out to the farms and seeing it for yourself, experiencing that process,
Sure.
and what's your takeaway from that? It's like if you had to sum that up in one word, what would that be?
Well, Mark, I'm glad you asked because my biggest word would be sourcing. As we move on with this movement of essential oils, we have to know the source of where our oil comes from. Are they growing it sustainably? What are the practices that are in place for that? Because personally, I want to have access to essential oils of all kinds 100 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And purity. You really want the purity. You don't want anything added to your essential oils. No additives,
Yep.
and the distillation process.
And that's exactly why I mentioned when I'm cooking, I have to know
Yes.
that they're quality. All right, thank you, Elizabeth. That was awesome. I learned a lot today.
I did too, and thanks for sharing those stories. That's amazing.
Yep.
You're so welcome.
So we're going to let people know that we can actually, or they can actually find us on Facebook. It's the @EO Talk Radio.
Right?
We're going to have some prizes that we're giving away. We mentioned earlier, right, Mark?
Yes, we are.
Yep. So we want them to go to our Facebook page, like our page, comment on the post. Now just tell us, what you liked about today's show.
Right.
Or tell us, hey, my favorite essential oil is boom, give it to us. And then we're going to choose a winner. We're going to announce next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the sound of that. So you guys tell your friends to join in and listen to this
Yeah,
at
there you
5
go.
a.m. on KTSA.
Yeah. So speaking of which, if folks want to get a hold of you, Elizabeth,
Yes.
how do they do that?
All right, so I have a website, and it is Ancient Secrets of Health. So go to www.Ancient Secrets of Health, as well as I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Ancient Secrets of Health, and email is just ancientsecretsofhealth@gmail.com. I would love to talk with you. I do a weekly coffee chat, actually, every Tuesday and Friday up in Kerrville, so you're welcome to come meet with me, and I want to talk to you.
Awesome. And we got a webinar. So if you're curious, if you want to learn more about essential oils, you can go to our website, look for our webinar there. That's our show for today. We're time out.